There is a particular type of person I want to talk to today. You've never been in a relationship, or maybe you have, but you went through it like a sleepwalker. You felt nothing that resembled what love is supposed to feel like. No urgency, no hunger. You tell yourself you are probably just wired differently. Low need for attachment. Emotionally self-sufficient, maybe a little cold. And then you open your phone. You watch two people in an interview. One of them says something unguarded about the other, and you replay it 4 times. Someone describes their partner as a safe place, and something tightens behind your sternum. Someone stands on a stage, and the last line of their acceptance speech is reserved for the person who stayed when nobody else cared. And your eyes sting. Your heart rate is elevated. Your pupils are dilated. Your neurochemistry is indistinguishable from someone in the early stages of romantic attachment. So you are not cold. Your emotional apparatus is functioning exquisitely, in fact, which raises a question that should disturb you more than it does. If you can feel all of that for people on a screen, why have you never once felt it for someone standing in front of you? Now, a necessary distinction before we go further. For a lot of people, shipping is entertainment, social glue, aesthetic pleasure, a fandom experience, and nothing more. This video is not about them. This video is about the person who read that opening line and felt a quiet shock of recognition. The person for whom shipping is a hobby alongside a life. It is the emotional life. I am dissecting the second type. Today I am not interested in whether shipping is normal or healthy. That is a boring question. What I want to do is an autopsy, to cut open the psychological machinery behind what happens when you ship and show you what is actually moving underneath. By the end, you may realize you thought you were watching someone else's love story. You were mourning your own. Let us start with the self-diagnosis. I am probably just not built for intimacy. That is what people like this tell themselves. It sounds clean. It sounds almost philosophical, like a personality trait rather than a wound. But the same person who claims emotional self-sufficiency will spend 2 days without food or sleep consuming ship content. Tachycardia, dopamine, flooding, tears. A person with low emotional need does not have this response. What you are looking at is someone whose emotional system is not broken, it is barricaded. This resembles closely the operating logic of an avoidant intimacy strategy, not as a diagnosis, as a pattern. And the pattern runs like this. The core belief is not, I don't need love. It is closeness is where damage happens. The origin varies. Perhaps you once expressed affection openly and received coldness in return. Perhaps you watched a relationship curdle from sweetness into harm and filed away a lesson before you had language for it. To love someone is to eventually be destroyed by them. Perhaps there was no single event, just an ambient, wordless understanding that if you truly let someone in, you would lose control, lose yourself, be seen, be found insufficient. So the psyche did something efficient. It installed a circuit breaker. Every time attraction begins its slide from noticing into wanting, an internal mechanism trips, never mind. No impulse to get closer, it fades. You interpret this as rational judgment. It isn't it is a defense system making decisions on your behalf below the threshold of consciousness. Jung described a state he called participation mystique. In genuine intimacy, the boundaries between two psyches dissolve. You will be seen, and you will be demanded of. You will possess, and you may lose. For certain people, the mere anticipation of this is already unbearable. So when you watch someone abandon all convenience to be present at another person's crucial moment, fighting through traffic, breaking protocol, showing up when showing up is inconvenient, you feel a surge. What you are registering is a person who dismantled every obstacle to stand where it mattered. Your heart accelerates, but notice what else is true. This acceleration is completely safe. You are an observer. You are thousands of miles and a screen away from any of it. No one will knock on your door because of this feeling. No one will test whether you have the courage to do the same. No one will enter your life and discover whether you are capable of that kind of recklessness. This is the core psychological mechanism of shipping. It grants you access to the full emotional spectrum of love. Infatuation, tenderness, heartbreak, devotion, at zero existential risk. Think of it as a glass wall. On the other side is love in all its colors. You can see it, you can feel its warmth against the surface, but you never have to step through. So when someone writes every feeling I've ever had about love has come from shipping, That is not a casual observation about a hobby. That is an emotional system issuing a status report. My capacity for feeling is intact. IV simply found a way to use it that can wound me. The question you should be asking, and aren't T, is what this arrangement costs. Let S run an experiment. Think about the moment that wrecked you, not the ship in general. The specific moment, the clip you've replayed dozens of times, the screenshot you sent to someone at 2 a.m. with no caption because no caption was needed. I'll give you a few archetypes. An interviewer offers a silly ethereal question, this or the person next to you, and they choose the person without a beat of hesitation. No performance, no deliberation, just certainty. Someone is asked to describe the kind of person who makes their heart race. Their description is so specific, physical details, habits, mannerisms, that the audience collectively says you might as well have named them. One of them mentions the other offhand, in an unrelated context, and their entire face restructures around a smile they clearly did not authorize. Two people reach for each other, as hands during a public event, not for the camera, not for the bit, and have to be separated by staff. Someone stands on a stage accepting an award. Their final line is T about the work. It is about the person who was there before anyone else was. You know which of these hit you the hardest. The question is, why that one? Not because the moment was sweet, because you are reading something very specific into it. The one who chose without hesitating. What you are reading is to be selected by someone who doesn't need to think about it. The one who described their person down to physical details. What you are reading is to be known so specifically that the knowing itself is a confession. The involuntary hand. What you are reading is a body that moves towards someone without asking permission from the mind. The award speech. What you are reading is to matter to someone not at the summit, but in the valley, and to still be remembered at the summit. Notice the common architecture. Every moment that devastates you shares a single deep structure to be held completely in someone's attention. To matter to one person without condition or calculation, you are not consuming their relationship. You are reading your own hunger into it. This is what Jung called projection. You are taking the most starved parts of your inner world and casting them onto two people who happen to interact in a way that fits the template. In their gestures, you are perceiving something you have craved and never possessed. The certainty of being chosen, the safety of being known without explanation, the trust of I can disarm entirely and it will be safe. These perceptions don't originate from them. They originate from you. Jung used the term Coniunctio, the union of opposites. Deep in the psyche there exists an archetype of the ideal relationship, a template for wholeness that the soul aches to realize. When you ship, you are not watching two people's romance. You are watching this archetype performed, vividly, dramatically, with the exact emotional texture your unconscious has been searching for. When your heart races with every sweet moment, and an ache settles in your chest with every painful one, that is not observation of love, that is the unconscious speaking. This is what I am starving for. This is exactly what I've been denied. Jung called this psychic hunger. When an experience is unavailable in reality, the psyche compulsively seeks substitution. You are not a fan, you are conducting a covert dialogue with the part of yourself that has never been loved the way it needed to be. This is also why shipping real people hits harder than shipping fictional characters. You know, fiction is fabricated, but real people, the interactions happened. That glance, that involuntary touch, that unscripted moment, it existed in physical space. It provides something fiction never can, the possibility that the care is genuine. I am not making a claim about anyone's actual relationship. That is irrelevant to the mechanism. The point is the texture you perceive, the complicity, the preference, the understanding without words. You believe it is real, and that belief, this kind of care, actually exists in the world, is the precise thing you are addicted to, not their relationship. The ontological proof that such tenderness is possible through every shared frame, every glance, every sentence, with a subtext only you seem to catch. You are confirming one thing, that somewhere someone is capable of caring about another person this way. But here is the paradox. The more you watch, the more certain you become love is real, and the more you watch, the more still you remain. Because you've outsourced the act of believing in love to someone else. Life, in the structure and dynamics of the psyche, Jung describes a phenomenon when psychic energy, libido, cannot flow outward into reality to meet the demands of adaptation. It undergoes regression. It retreats into the interior fantasy world. In plainer terms, when you repeatedly fail to engage with reality, or more precisely, when you never allow yourself to try, your emotional energy finds the path of least resistance. That path is shipping. Let us do some unpleasant arithmetic. How many hours per week do you spend consuming content, edits, clips, live streams, micro-expression analysis? 5, 10, 20. During those hours, your emotional system runs at full capacity, elevated heart rate, dopamine secretion, tears of joy, insomnia from happiness. Your neurochemistry doesn't distinguish between a screen and a person. To your limbic system, every frame of that emotion is real. Now subtract those hours. What remains in your daily life? A quiet person, an even-keeled person, a person who can seem to generate attraction toward anyone real. This is not because you are constitutionally cold. It is because your emotional system has already spent its budget. The allocation is gone, but it is worse than depletion. It is desensitization. The screen delivers emotional content in concentrated, curated doses. The perfect timing, the perfect unscripted moment that feels scripted by fate. Reality cannot compete with this. A real person saying something kind over dinner will never hit as hard as a perfectly timed fan edit set to music that already makes you cry. A real person being thoughtful will feel flat compared to two people whose every interaction you've studied frame by frame for subtext. You don't just run out of emotional budget. You lose tolerance for the real version. The threshold rises, reality tastes diluted, and each time it does, you return to the screen for something stronger. You've already experienced infatuation, sweetness, anxiety, devotion, heartbreak. The full effective spectrum of a love affair in front of a screen. When you return to reality and face an actual, breathing human being, your psyche reports, "I am exhausted. I've already loved today, but you haven't. You loved a projection. You nourished a phantom. Your most incandescent, most unguarded, most genuine emotions were poured, all of them into a direction you can never touch." That statement, "I genuinely cannot seem to fall for anyone, and I can even picture myself in a relationship. I just keep shipping," is not a description of preference. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The loop runs like this. You pour all emotional energy into shipping. Your real-life emotional account is depleted. Your tolerance for unmediated intimacy drops. You feel less and less toward real people. This confirms your belief that I am just not built for real love. You depend more heavily on shipping for emotional sustenance. The cycle tightens. You are not incapable of love. You've deposited your entire capacity for it into an account that will never pay out. The interest rate is excellent. Every new clip delivers a dopamine hit, but you can never withdraw the principle because the people on that screen will not enter your life. They won't text you when you can't sleep. They won't choose to stay when you are vulnerable, unattractive, imperfect. And those things, the mundane things, the clumsy things, the things that sometimes disappoint, that is what love actually looks like. I have no interest in telling you that shipping is wrong. It is. Jung called fantasy a form of psychic alchemy. It preserves the capacity to feel beauty when you are not yet ready to survive the cruelty and banality of the real, that you can be shattered by a glance, undone by a sentence, that you can watch two people interact and see in it the full architecture of love. This means your heart is open. It simply faces a direction that demands nothing of you. But I want to leave you with a question, not a solution. A question the next time you are watching, the next time someone chooses someone else without hesitating and your chest tightens, the next time you see a person go quiet and easy beside another person, like someone who has finally stopped bracing for impact. Don't screenshot it. Don't share it. Sit with what you felt for a moment and ask, what is it about them that breaks your heart? Is it the courage, the kind that doesn't calculate before it moves? Is it the focus? The entire world is irrelevant because you are here. Quality. Is it the stubbornness? The I don't care what happens. I am staying. Whatever your answer is, Jung would tell you that quality does not belong to them. It is your own unlived life looking back at you. The bravery you recognize in them is yours. The tenderness you see is yours. The reason you can identify love, be struck by it, weep for it, is that these things already exist inside you. They always have. UV simply never permitted them to walk out the door and face a real person. And here is the part that should make you the most uncomfortable. You think the glass wall protects you from being hurt. It does. But it also protects something else, a version of yourself that has never been tested. As long as you only love from behind a screen, you get to remain the person who could have loved magnificently. Without ever having to prove it, you get to keep the fantasy of your own depth without submitting it to the clumsiness, the compromise, the indignity of a real relationship. You are not just protecting yourself from pain. You are protecting a self-image that can only survive if it is never examined. So here is the question I'd like you to carry out of this video. Not as homework, as an irritant, something that sits in you and one settle. If the version of love you keep watching on screen is the version you are starving for, what are you protecting by making sure you only ever watch it? Moralize it. Measure it, because there is something on the other side of that glass wall you built, and it isn't just love, it is you. The version of you that could be seen, could be chosen, could be damaged, could be real. The light you keep reading in their eyes, it was always yours. And one day you'll have to decide whether to keep pointing it at a screen or to turn it toward someone real, someone ordinary, someone who might disappoint you, and toward yourself. Because the real tremor, the one that actually changes something, isn't confirming from a safe distance that they are real. It is standing in front of another person and admitting, I am. If something in this landed, a ship, a feeling, a thought you've been circling for longer than you, do you like to admit the comments exist? I'll be reading.